We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, August 14th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Hyun.
Thanks for having me.
Coming in. Also, Kyle's with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's finally the end of the work week, and here in Korea, it's also one with special meaning. So tomorrow marks Korea's Liberation Day, one of the country's most significant national holidays. So why is Liberation Day such an important day for Koreans?
That's a very good question. Just so that everyone knows, Korea was under Japanese colonial rule from 1910 to 1945, a very painful chapter in the nation's history. Now, Liberation Day, observed on August 15th, commemorates Korea's liberation from Japanese colonization in 1945. So this year is the 81st anniversary and celebrates the establishment of the Republic of Korea, which inherited the legitimacy of the Korean Provisional Government. Liberation Day is especially important to Koreans because it marks the end of 35 years of Japanese colonial rule and the recovery of national sovereignty. And it's not just simply a celebration of independence, but also a day to remember the sacrifices of those who fought for Korea's freedom and to reflect on the country's modern history, because Korea would not be Korea right now if it weren't for our ancestors.
So the day is remembered not only for Korea's freedom, but for the people who made it all possible. So how do Koreans tend to celebrate or commemorate Liberation Day, Kyle?
Yes, so our ancestors literally risked everything, their whole life, and fought for independence to reclaim our country. So on the National Liberation Day, the 광복절, Koreans hang the national flag, the taegukgi, to honor their sacrifice and celebrate our freedom. You'll also see various events popping up all over the country throughout August to mark the day, and we're about to talk more about that.
Right, so it's a powerful reminder that the freedoms we enjoy today came at an incredible cost. And today, younger generations are finding new ways to keep that spirit alive. So we're going to talk more about how they're doing this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. August 15 marks one of the most significant days in Korean history, commemorating the nation's liberation from Japanese colonial rule in 1945. More than 8 decades later, it remains a day to honor the countless independence fighters who sacrificed their lives to reclaim their country's freedom. So today on News Generation, we explore how young Koreans are commemorating Liberation Day, the independence activities drawing the most attention from today's generation, and the debates surrounding the national holiday. Just as you saw in a video, younger generations in Korea are finding new ways to keep the spirit of Liberation Day alive. And technology is playing a surprisingly meaningful role in that. So how are AI-generated images changing how young people remember history, Kim?
It's really interesting to see how AI is actually utilized in this way as well. And it's good to see that. These days, many Korea's MZ generation, they use AI restored photos and videos of independence activists, and it's gaining a lot of attention actually. Now, most of the images we remember of these activists are actually black and white photographs, but AI is now being used to reimagine them in modern clothing, vivid backgrounds, as you can see on the screen, and even with realistic color, and they look pretty cool actually, you know, with those like modern clothing. Now, in particular, people are creating AI images that portray independence activists simply just living ordinary everyday lives, just like us today. And it is a way of honoring them, remembering them, and imagining the futures they never actually had a chance to live. Now, many in the MZ generation seem to connect with this even more deeply because so many of those independence activists were around their age when they actually lost their lives. And that sense of generational closeness appears to make the stories even more personal, relatable, and in a sense, like it helps them to resonate with the activists in the past.
Exactly, and looking at those footage really makes these historical figures feel more relevant and relatable. But AI isn't the only way younger Koreans are paying tribute. So how else are younger Koreans commemorating Liberation Day figures and the day itself today?
Yes, so Gen Zs and millennials in Korea celebrate Liberation Day in their own way. For instance, in the 8:15 run, which is a short marathon that young people run 8.15 kilometers to celebrate the day, and their entry fees go to the foundation that support the descendants of Korean independence fighters. And also the merch featuring the oldest Korean flag, 대니 태극기, or the and pastries that have the shape of Korean flag, 태극방, to celebrate the day, also huge hits. So it shows how young people prefer experiencing Liberation Day in a meaningful way rather than just taking a day off.
So it is fascinating to see remembrance become something people actively experience. In fact, some independence activists continue to inspire generation after generation even now. So which particular independence activists, so we saw some of them that were reimagined with AI earlier. So which of them are resonating the most with younger people these days?
One of the most prominent figures is An Jung-gun, a well-known Korean independence activist. Now, he took part in armed resistance against Japanese rule and in 1909 assassinated Japanese statesman Ito Hirobumi at Harbin Railway Station. An was later executed at just 30 years old, and his story has continued to be retold through popular culture, including the film Harbin, or Harbin in Korean, and the musical Hero, Yeong in Korean. And as a result, he has become a particularly familiar historical figure among younger Koreans, I guess especially more younger male Koreans.
And 30 seems quite young, so...
You know, 6 years younger than me.
Do you know any other figures are getting attention these days?
Yes, I would say Yu Kwan-soon is one of the most iconic independence activists of Korea. During March 1st movement, she was arrested for leading a peaceful protest and tragically passed away in Seo prison from severe torture, unfortunately. Her legacy is still honored through tribute songs and movies. What really hits home for Gen Z and millennial is that she was only 17 when she passed away. And it's so inspiring to think that someone even younger than them sparked such massive movement and left her name on history. And I think it helps people to truly empathize with immense hardships that she had to go through.
Right, if you actually visit Seo prison, you can see what she actually has looked like. A lot of the photos that we see these days of Yu Kwan-soon, for example, was after she was beaten. And so then going to these also, like these Seo prisons can really help really see what they went through and what it was like for them. So to learn more about this, we're actually going to speak to a professor from the Department of Korean History, and that conversation is coming out right after a break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined now by Professor John Moya, Professor of Korean History at Seoul National University. So hello, Professor. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Professor. So why is it so important for Korea and its people to commemorate Liberation Day every year?
Yeah, I think we can connect this in two ways, and I had a chance to hear some of the earlier conversation. So yes, I mean, the most important thing, obviously, is that it represents Haebang, liberation from 35 years of colonization, and that's really important. But along with that, the recognition that the moment of Haebang precedes what Koreans now know as division between North and South. So it adds, I guess, more of a sense of unification or happiness when you recognize that August 15th is also celebrated in a place like North Korea, even though it has a very different political system. And also, the second thing, because I mentioned too, is to recognize that while it's not recognized specifically for Korean liberation, many other parts of East Asia also celebrate August 15th or similar celebrations because they also were obviously liberated from Japanese colonialism because the empire had a very great extent. So I guess by putting those two things together, recognizing that Koreans were more united, obviously, before the political controversies of the late 1940s, and that other East Asians are involved, you get a sense of a more unified spirit pushing back against Japanese colonialism in a way that stands in contrast to the political tensions of the region today.
Thanks for that response, Professor. Now, I mean, Professor, you know, as you lecture, you get the chance to interact with many younger people. So have you noticed a shift in how younger generations engage with Korean history?
Yeah, I can say a couple of examples. I'll try. Basically, I would think, particularly since 2020, COVID, and then coming out of COVID, I feel that students, both the Korean students and also the international students who attend the university, are more invested in the sense that they've always been interested in history, but I think they are more interested in trying to bring history to bear upon some of the controversies and issues they face in their own lives and to try to understand their place in the world. So, I mean, the one quick example I would give, and it's not necessarily a great example in terms of what it says about Korea, but it's very interesting historically, is the 2021 Olympic controversy with I apologize, I'm blanking on her name, but the Korean female medalist who had very short hair. And it became kind of a gender controversy in Korea about her role. This has actually, in a lot of my classes, inspired some interesting discussions about gender, insofar as students are very interested in not so much again, the issue itself, but in trying to understand how have Korean men and women interacted from Chosun until now, how have roles varied, and obviously it's my job as well to try to get them thinking historically and not just, debating and kind of pushing back against each other. So I think particularly coming out of COVID, students have been much more interested in trying to figure out, their place in the world and what tools they can bring, history being one of them, to understand how they fit in the world.
Thanks for the great insight, Professor. Then from now on, what more can be done to help young Korean people to develop a deeper understanding of Korean culture? Oh, sorry, Korean history. My bad.
Sure, sure. I think the Korean government is doing a wonderful job with some of the things, and then I'll suggest things I could think for the future. I mean, the one thing I've been involved in not directly because I'm a university professor, but they run the National History Day contest I think it's sometime in the spring, February or March, and I do tend to get, it's weird, you're a university professor, and you get these emails from high school students saying, could you, clarify about this? And I usually pick, because I tell them I can't answer all of them, but I'll pick one or two every year that get to me first, and I'll try to answer. So that's a very good example of, I think, my understanding is that they give presentations, and then some of them advance to national and even to the next level if their presentation is received well. So that's a perfect idea of what they're doing. What I think they can do more in the present and in the future is things like this that get students recognizing that history is theirs. What I mean by that is it's not just something in a textbook, it's not just to be memorized. I don't know that I would want to do this with junior high or high school students, but with university students, I can take them to places in Seoul sometimes, Gwanghwamun, things where active political activities are going on, and get them to recognize that historians actually can talk about these things. So I guess I'm not going to recommend anything specific, but I'm saying get them to recognize that they can interact with history, that they are part of history, that they are historical actors, and that it's, when they recognize that, they get much more motivated when recognizing that it's not just something set in a textbook.
I think really visiting those places is a way to get more interested in the history itself, and it doesn't feel as far away, if that makes sense. So I think that's a good
precisely.
way.
And we've had really good luck, not just with Korean students, but we had some Taiwanese visitors in January of 25. We took them down to Gwanghwamun, and they were very interested in comparing some of the Taiwanese political situations with the contemporary Korean situation.
Is there a place that you would recommend people go tomorrow to commemorate Liberation Day?
I don't know that I would recommend. Well, okay, yeah. I mean, just a personal thing that I like, and I may go myself depending on how crowded it is. I really like the National Museum. I think it's underrated. I've heard, as you probably know, that with K-pop Demon Hunters, the numbers have gone way up. But I mean, it is a really cool place just to kind of see for an hour or two, even if it's crowded, and kind of experience kind of some of the history. And then obviously you're close enough there that you can go to other parts of town. Gwanghwamun being another great example.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just heard from a Korean history professor about the significance of Liberation Day, how young people engage with history, and how we can keep that history alive. The way younger generations have developed their own ways of commemorating the day has also sparked some debate. So this has been controversial. So why has traveling to Japan over Liberation Day become such a source of debate these days, Kyun?
Well, unlike older generations to begin, many of whom actually carry vivid memories of the wounds of history, some younger Koreans kind of tend to view Liberation Day not only as a solemn historical anniversary, but also as a national holiday, a day off pretty much, and for some even as a day of celebration. Now, that difference in perception has also sparked debate over whether it is appropriate to actually travel to Japan during the Liberation Day holiday. Now, among younger Koreans, opinions are divided. Some argue that doing so kind of reflects a lack of historical awareness, while others say, travel is ultimately a matter of personal choice and freedom and should not be judged through the lens of history alone.
Mm-hmm. So I think this really highlights the generational differences in how Liberation Day is understood and commemorated. But the debate doesn't stop with where people choose to spend the holidays. What are some other recent controversies that have emerged around these events?
So there was a controversy last year over a Japanese anime character was being invited to throw in a ceremonial first pitch for at a Korean baseball game around Liberation Day. And it sparked backlash mainly because the anime was set during the Japanese imperial period. So the pitch ended up being canceled. And there was also an issue with the local festival hosting a Japanese summer event around Liberation Day. So historians pointed out that holding that kind of event on Liberation Day, the day that we're supposed to celebrate and honor our ancestors who made modern Korea possible, completely goes against public sentiment.
Right. So, these cases show just how sensitive the balance can be between culture exchange and also historical memory. So, where should we draw the line between personal freedom and also historical sensitivity? So, Kyun, starting with you, this is more of a personal question. So how do you personally feel about traveling to Japan or these Japanese-themed events during this particular time of the year?
Look, traveling is fun. It's meant to be fun, and Japan is a very close country to Korea, and it's a great country as well to visit. But like I said, it's a very sensitive issue for Koreans. So I think being a little bit careful and a bit more considerate will be the right move. But there is no law saying you can't travel to Japan and have Japanese-themed events on Liberation Day. But like I said, as an educated Korean and a Korean citizen, I think maybe staying low-key could be the better option just on this particular day.
Right, just one day of
Just one day.
What are your thoughts on this, Kyle?
I think I'm on the same page with Ki-hoon is that I'm not saying that we should not ban Japanese travel or should not enjoy Japanese theme events like it, but we have 365 days a year. We have 11 other months to enjoy that. And then I think August, the month, is the one that we're supposed to honor our ancestors who made modern Korea possible. So it just makes sense to me that we can just put those kind of events. Let's just hold for a little bit. And then we can just definitely choose different days.
I think that's a good point. We're not saying this particular time of the year. So ultimately, Liberation Day is about remembering the past and also deciding how we carry that memory forward. So what are your ideas of how to spend Liberation Day, Hugh?
I haven't actually really decided what I should do tomorrow, but to be very honest, I actually looked deeper into the details of Liberation Day. Thanks to News Generation and Arirang TV, because we're covering it so comprehensively in the right way. And I do admit national holidays are days off for people to rest pretty much, take a day off work. But I think taking a moment to really reflect on our past and having a sense of appreciation of what the older generations did for us to create the present Korea will, I guess, help us grow a stronger feeling of patriotism. And I think everyone needs that wherever they live, wherever country they were born in. And right now, people around the world are so drawn into Korean culture, Korean language, everything about Korea, Korean food, you name it. Even more than Japan, to be honest. And I think this is something our ancestors will be so, so proud of right now. If they look at Korea right now, they'll think, oh, what I did back then when I was, in my teens, in my 20s, sacrificing my life for the freedom of this country, I think they'll be so proud. And therefore, in return, I'm truly thankful to all of them who actually made Korea right now.
Well said, well said. What about you? Do you have any suggestions of what's the best way to spend Liberation Day?
Okay. Oh, I think I hope to see more events that like held nationwide to celebrate Liberation Day. Like think of 4th of July in the US. Like that become a huge thing. Even if it's a day off, rather people just, rest at home, they all gather in the park. Like all gather, come out on the street and then celebrate all together of the American independence. And then that could also, now it's also become like a tourist activities you can enjoy because that could only happen in America. So I guess like we can take that idea to Korea, and then if we can hold some of the events nationwide to celebrate Liberation Day, then I think in terms of tourist experience-wise, like tourists come to Korea and then get to know more about Korean history, the histories behind Korea and Japan. So I think it would be a great idea. So I like the idea of the idea that I mentioned about 8:15 run, the marathon to celebrate Korean liberation. But that's only for younger generations. Like not everyone can run 8 kilometers. So I really like the concept, really like the idea behind it, but I would see more events that everyone can join. Doesn't matter you're young or old.
And you don't have to be from Korea either.
Yeah, exactly. So we can all celebrate together, and then there will be a great way to boost historical awareness and also make people feel even prouder as a Korean.
It's a great idea. So Liberation Day isn't just about looking back, it's about deciding how we carry history forward. And as the ways we remember continue to evolve, what matters most is ensuring those sacrifices are never forgotten. After all, history only stays alive when each generation chooses to remember it. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. My News Gen will be back on Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time following Monday's National Liberation Day holiday with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Kyun.
It's always a pleasure.
And also Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully your holiday plans don't spark quite as much debate as a trip to Japan. We are News
Generation.